Okay, I'm gonna be straight with you. We're ditching the usual deep dive format for this one. It's a live emergency broadcast, We're talking global crisis mode, something we haven't ever seen before.
Yeah, that's right. We're getting reports from everywhere, every corner of the globe, actually, about these. Well, we can only describe them as localized gravitational anomalies. Basically, gravity is going haywire.
Buildings are defying physics 1 minute, floating in midair, and then the next. They're slamming back down. People, cars. It's like,
Woo!
you've stepped into a disaster film, only this time the special effects are real, terrifyingly real.
And the science behind it. It's got the whole scientific community baffled, I'll tell you that. We'll get into some early theories, but first, let's get you up to speed on what we know so far. And you might want to grab a seat for this one, listener. It's a wild ride.
Okay, so imagine this. The Chrysler Building in New York City, lifted 30 feet in the air before crashing back down. Or picture this. Entire neighborhoods in Johannesburg, tossed around like someone is playing a cruel game of marbles up there.
We're talking Big Ben just hovering over the Thames.
Yeah.
Sections of the Great Wall of China crumbling because gravity up and vanished. And these reports are consistent, coming from reputable sources. The BBC, Reuters, even NASA. You know it's real. This isn't localized. This is global.
And the human cost. That number is still being calculated, and honestly, it's scary to think about. We have to share this clip with you. It's an interview with a teacher in Texas who watched a row of trees outside her school. Well, they decided to take flight.
The sheer terror in her voice.
Yeah.
Just a stark reminder that this isn't some abstract concept, This is real life with real consequences.
And that's just one story. We're getting flooded with accounts like this. We talked to a passenger on a train in Mumbai, described being lifted off the tracks, clinging to their seat. They didn't even know if they were going to become part of the sky or come crashing back down. Can you even imagine that feeling?
It's crucial to remember that authorities are doing everything they can, but the unpredictable nature of this phenomenon is what makes it so dangerous. That's why we're here, you and us, together in this. We're committed to bringing you the most accurate information available so you can stay safe.
Exactly. Look, even we felt it this morning getting ready for the show. I was sitting here about to launch into a fascinating discussion about virtual pets. And suddenly my coffee cup is doing a gravity-defying dance, papers flying everywhere, my laptop nearly took a nosedive. It was surreal and terrifying, if I'm being honest.
I can only imagine. I was driving on a highway when a semi-truck next to me decided it wanted to be a low-flying plane. The driver was petrified. And honestly, it was like watching a nightmare in slow motion. An image I don't think I'll ever forget.
It's easy to feel helpless right now, overwhelmed. I get it. The world as we know it has literally been turned upside down. But panicking, that's not going to help anyone. We need to stay calm, stay informed, and that's what this deep dive is all about.
Knowledge is power, especially in a crisis like this. So let's talk about what the experts are saying. Dr. Elaine Kansaros at MIT, a leading physicist, suggests this might be a disruption in Earth's gravitational field itself.
Okay, so not just a rogue planet or something.
Yeah, right. You'd be surprised at some of the theories flying around out there. Alien invasion, the Earth fighting back against humanity. Look, we're in uncharted territory here, so every idea is on the table. However, Dr. Katsaros believes that something fundamental is happening. That's altering how gravity functions, not on a global scale, but locally.
Which explains why it's so unpredictable. Like, 1 minute you're walking down the street, the next, the ground itself could decide to take a vacation. It's unsettling, to say the least.
And that's precisely why we want to equip you with some practical advice right now, before things potentially get even more interesting.
Let's do this, first and foremost. You, listening right now, stay indoors if you can, and avoid tall structures or open areas where there's nothing to grab onto if gravity decides to take a break.
Think of it like a safety drill, but with a cosmic twist. Gather emergency supplies, water, non-perishable food, flashlights, a first aid kit. If the power grid is affected, you'll be thankful you were prepared.
And let's talk safety. If you start to feel that weird weightlessness, try to secure yourself to something sturdy. Belts, ropes, even a strong tablecloth tied around a table leg. Improvise. We're all making this up as we go along.
This is crucial. Keep children and pets close in whatever you do. Avoid using vehicles unless absolutely necessary. Being stuck in traffic when things start floating around is a situation you don't want to be in.
It's moments like these when the laws of physics decide to take a break that you realize how much we take for granted. Like, we just assume gravity will always be there, like a comfy chair or something.
Right. We build our lives, our cities, our entire understanding of the universe around it, and then boom, something like this happens and throws everything into question.
Speaking of things being thrown into question, earlier you mentioned that global transportation networks are down.
Yeah.
Planes are grounded, trains are stuck, it's all on hold. Makes you realize how much we rely on that constant movement, that global interconnectedness.
It's a forced pause for a world that can't seem to sit still. Like, we're so used to instant connections, hopping on a plane and being on the other side of the world in a few hours.
Oh, yeah.
And now, it's like someone hit the cosmic pause button. And it really highlights how fragile our systems really are when something this fundamental goes wrong.
And you know me, I love a good internet rabbit hole. And let me tell you, the speculation out there is wild.
Oh, I bet.
Some people are saying it's the apocalypse, others are blaming aliens, government experiments gone wrong. You name it, someone's claiming it online. Have you been seeing any of that?
Oh, absolutely. It seems like the internet was made for moments like this. Conspiracy theories are spreading faster than we can debunk them.
It's crazy out there.
But I get it, when something this unexplainable happens, it's human nature to want an explanation, even if it's a little out there. It's like our brains need something, any narrative, to make sense of this chaos.
It's like we need to put a face to the monster, even if that monster is a rogue planet or some cosmic prankster. But really, though, how do we help people navigate this amount of information, especially with fear and misinformation going around like debris and zero gravity?
That's the question, isn't it? How do we anchor ourselves when the ground beneath us feels unstable? It all boils down to what we keep saying. Stick to credible sources, apply critical thinking, and don't let fear control your decisions.
Easier said than done, though, right? Our brains are wired for fight or flight, and we can't exactly outrun a gravity fluctuation, although I bet someone out there is trying.
Probably.
So let's talk about some practical things. If you're listening to this right now, what are some things you can do to stay safe?
Right, let's get down to it. So if you're in an area that's already experienced a gravity fluctuation, be prepared for aftershocks, so to speak. It might not just happen once.
So treat it like an earthquake, like secure, heavy objects have an escape route.
Exactly. Anything that could become a projectile if gravity takes a nosedive.
Oh, that makes sense.
Like picture frames, mirrors, even that stack of books you've been meaning to get to. Secure them, move them to a safe place, and yeah, think about escape routes. If you had to leave your current location quickly, how would you do it?
And stairs are your friend, not elevators.
Exactly.
Solid advice. Now, we talked about gathering supplies earlier, but is there anything else people should be thinking about?
Yeah, think beyond the physical needs.
Okay.
Grab some books, games, anything that can provide a mental break from the stress. And if you have a way to connect with loved ones, even if it's just a radio or a satellite phone, do it. That social connection is going to be so important in the days and weeks to come.
I completely agree. The world might feel like it's ending, but we're still here, we're still human, and we still need connection, laughter, and maybe a good cup of, gravity-compliant coffee. Speaking of human connection, we have a caller on the line. Go ahead, caller. You're live on Deep Dive. We're ready for you. What's on your mind?
Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm calling from Seattle.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if anyone knows what's happening. Is this the end of the world?
Sarah, first of all, thank you for calling in. You're not alone in feeling scared. We all are. It's okay to feel that way. But, focusing on the end of the world, that's not going to help right now. What will help is focusing on what we can control, staying safe and staying informed. We're all in this together, and we're here to help you make sense of this. Okay.
Sarah, your reaction is completely understandable. We're getting calls just like yours from all over the world. People are scared. And it makes sense. This situation is turning our world upside down. And it's that uncertainty that's one of the hardest things to deal with. But here's the thing. Panicking isn't going to change anything. It's like we talked about. Knowledge is power. Focus on what you can control. Your actions, your mindset, your connections with others.
Sarah, we want to make sure you're somewhere safe right now. Do you have any family or friends with you?
I'm at home, but I live alone. I haven't been able to get a hold of my parents. They live closer to the city center, and
Okay, Sarah, listen closely. It's important to stay put if you're already somewhere safe. Venturing out, especially into a populated area, could be really dangerous right now, especially with all this unpredictable gravity stuff. You mentioned you haven't been able to reach your parents. Have you tried any other ways to connect? Social media, text messaging, maybe even just leaving a message on a family group chat or something? Sometimes just knowing you're trying can bring a little comfort.
And Sarah, remember how we were talking about our interconnected world earlier? As frustrating as it is not being able to reach someone immediately, chances are your parents are also being safe and listening to the advice of local authorities. The lines are overloaded, but they're working on it.
We're all holding on to hope, Sarah. Stay strong, we're in this together. And, remember what the expert speaker said. The human spirit is incredibly resilient. We've faced tough times before, and we've gotten through them, right? We'll weather this storm, too.
I'll try that. Thank you.
You got this, Sarah. And thank you for reaching out to us. It takes a lot of courage to do that. You've reminded us all about the human part of this whole thing, and that's really what we need to hold on to right now, that connection to each other.
This is where the deep dive community comes in. We're all about knowledge and understanding, but even more than that, we're about supporting each other, especially now. So if you're listening and you have anything to share, resources, information, or even just a kind word, reach out. We're stronger together, and we'll get through this one step at a time.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this emergency broadcast. But don't worry, we'll be back soon with more updates, expert analysis, and more stories from you, our amazing listeners. Because in times like these, sharing our experiences, our fears, and our hopes is what reminds us that we're not alone.
Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and remember, we're all looking at the same sky, wondering what's going to happen next. Keep your eyes open, your minds engaged, and your hearts connected.
This is Deep Dive, signing off for now.